Thanks for staying with us. Life for people with autism has become increasingly difficult since the implementation of the Movement Control Order on March 18th. Now, for most people, dealing with the COVID-19 crisis is a challenge, even more so for this vulnerable group, as they may not get the care and support that they need due to social distancing. Shafika Razali speaks to some of the Malaysian families facing these struggles.
The coronavirus pandemic has put a heavy strain on the lives of over 300,000 people with autism in Malaysia. This as the outbreak has taken away their daily routines like going to school, therapy, outdoor exercises or even the occasional trips to the mall or park, causing distress and anxiety for many of them. According to the National Autism Society of Malaysia, NASOM chairman Failina Muhammad Faisal, the MCO has abruptly disrupted the daily routines meant to keep people on the autism spectrum occupied. They also depend on doctors, therapists and special teachers, but the closure of schools and movement restrictions across the country have made it harder for them to get support.
Persons with autism really thrive on routine, and it's very difficult for them to understand why the routine is not being followed.
Iman Wan Tak Meng, father of 18-year-old autistic teen Adam, shares some personal challenges of living under the MCO for his family. Over the last few years, one of Adam's routines is to visit malls, but when the movement restrictions were imposed, his cherished schedule changed overnight.
The major problem is like trying to get him to understand, to tell him that people are getting sick out there, that we cannot go to the malls are not open. Adam's behavior became worse when he realized that we're not going to take him out.
Diagnosed with autism since he was 2 years old, Adam is also non-verbal and has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder (ADHD), as well as prone to aggressive outbursts.
He tends to have more tantrums. He will get into a meltdown easier. So the first week was really hard. As I think a couple of weeks, almost 10-11 days, it was a major struggle because every other hour he would walk to the gate, he would want to go out. So there were a couple of times, like 3 days or so, we really did not sleep. So that has been really hard.
I think the first thing that they should do really is to create a routine at home. One of the basic ways of doing things is table time, working with them, doing things they like. It could be reading, writing, art, crafts, and I'm sure parents know what the children do in school, so they could perhaps follow up with the teacher's lessons.
Things that we do with him, we increase the frequency, but again, we cannot be doing that with him, from morning to evening, right? We also need to have our own break and we have to do our own stuff. And whenever we leave him alone, then he will start to remember that, hey, I need to go out. I'm supposed to go out every day.
The government also has eased movement restrictions with the conditional MCO since early this month, allowing people living with autism and other disabilities to do outdoor therapy as long as it isn't in groups.
Every day, every night, we would take Adam out for a run every single night. And he is so happy, whenever he gets to run, he will be so happy. He will come home and it's like he really get to release all the energy.
Although the MCO has proven to be tough on families like Iman's, there has been a silver lining.
Ironically, I have to say I'm really thankful to MCO, because what MCO did was it kind of forced us to not take Adam out, which we should have been doing for a long time. We should have stopped bringing him out all the time. Okay, so MCO kind of forced us to do that, and it helped. He actually improved. He was able to stay in more. So now we're into the third phase, and Adam he doesn't have to go out as much anymore. Okay, maybe once or twice throughout the day, just once or twice, but there were a couple of times throughout the day he never even asked to go out.
Physical stimulus is vital for the well-being and cognitive development of people with autism. Now, if you see a person walking in public, running around, screaming to your face, don't be too quick to react or judge. They just might be autistic and struggling far worse than you are. As Malaysia has extended the movement control order for several more weeks, it is hoped that the vulnerable groups and their caregivers can also get the support that they need from relevant authorities during this challenging period. Shafika Razali for 7 Edition.
And now we've got NASOM President Felina Faisal on the line with us to give us some more insight on the effects of living under movement restrictions during this pandemic. Hi, Felina. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Hi.
Right. Now, as the MCO has been extended for another month, is there any concern on the long-term effect that the movement restrictions and social distancing measures can have on people with autism? And do you think there could be any long-term effects on them?
As Iman was saying earlier, people with autism follow a certain schedule. They are very used to following that schedule, Monday to Friday, Saturdays and Sundays. So what has happened is the 6 weeks of MCO, the parents have got to adjust the schedule to the children. So now the children now have a different schedule at home. So it all depends on how much longer we are with this MCO. Like for instance, my son, he's quite used to staying at home. His sleeping time has gone totally topsy-turvy. It'll be quite a challenge to again wake him up early in the morning to send him to the center.
Right. I see. Now, from your observations, since the MCO was implemented on March 18th, have people with autism and people with disabilities been able to get the care, for example, specialist education therapy, and protection that they need to cope under the movement restriction measures?
If you could remember, the first set of MCO, we were literally locked down, right? So obviously, therapy was also cancelled, especially in group therapy. You could only have one-to-one therapy and things like that. And even that, most of the centers, intervention centers are closed. The only ones that are open are in the hospital. So a lot of children have gone without therapy. So what happens is whatever progress which they have made while they were in the center or at therapy has actually set back 6 weeks. I mean, parents can always do it at home, but always parents are not as good as the therapist.
Right. Now, speaking about the parents, how about the parents and the caregivers of autistic people? What are some concerns for them during this trying time, and what can the government do to help?
I think where the parents are concerned, because NASOM is the National Autism Society, is an NGO, and we basically cater for the ones who are needy. So basically the ones who are in the B40 groups, middle to lower income. So what happens to a lot of our classes, since we've already under lockdown, a lot of these parents do not have even the money to pay for the fees. Now, I have like 287 teachers, of which I still have to pay their wages, their salary. So it's a what do you call it, domino effect. So the parents can't afford to pay the fees, I can't afford to pay to the teachers, and the centers will start closing. You see what I mean? So, the government is giving very good help to some of the parents, but not all, because some of the parents who used to have comfortable jobs maybe are out of job too, you see? So that's one side, which is financial, but the other side, which is even worse, is the mental health of the parents. The parents are going under so much stress and turmoil, plus their children too. If you could imagine staying in 4 walls with a child who wants to go out, who is hyperactive, you need, one thing I've learned, that you need infinite wisdom, infinite patience, and a hell lot of creativity to keep your child, focused at whatever they're doing.
I see. Thank you so much for that. I do have another question though. Are there any special places for therapy for autistic children, and can you talk a little bit more about this?
Actually, a lot of the places that I've been calling, most of them are still closed, including in Nasong. But one of the places that I know that has just opened today is the horse therapy. They have opened most probably because they are outdoors. A lot of the outdoor activities have started reopening, which is quite good.
Right. Well, I'm afraid that that's all the time that we have for this topic. Thank you so much, Felina, for sharing your insights.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for calling me up to NTV7. Thank you.